The time he tried to drive Dad's car was after that. He decided that the reason he got lost is because he had to walk. He managed to get the brake off and rolled right down the fairly steep incline outside my parents' house, crashing into a fence. The damage was minimal, but after that incident, my parents realized he needed to be in a full-time care facility. He got worse after that. My father visited him 3 times a week. I have no idea how often my aunts went, or if they even did. I tended to only go when there was a family gathering, and increasingly I began to realize that he had no clue who I was. He'd smile and greet me as though I was someone he had just met. He'd tell me about his children, describing them as little kids, and even going as far as to invent a friend who was looking after them while he was in this home with all these old people. Grandpa was 93 at the time. He was much older than many of the others who lived there. But somehow, they were the old people while he was not. But when I say he got worse, I mean he changed. The false memories, the refusal to acknowledge that he was elderly, the attempts to chat up ladies, and inability to remember that his children were grown and that he had grandchildren and great-grandchildren had been a part of who he was for years, ever since his early 80s. But he had never been violent before. That changed one night when Dad was called to come to the facility quickly. Grandpa had wandered into the wrong room and had come out screaming, raising his walker up in the air and slamming it into the ground, taking a few swings at people who tried to calm him down. He began accusing the staff of stealing his things. He was bellowing as loud as he could. "Give them back! Give them back!" I wasn't there for it, and I still have a hard time picturing it. Grandpa barely raised his voice above normal volume during the last decade of his life, except to laugh. When Dad got there, they had gotten him into his room, and he was somewhat appeased. Somewhat. He had a can of Ensure in a tube sock, and almost hit my father in the head with it when he came in. He apologized. Dad was one of the few people he always recognized, and said he had been waiting for the thief to come back. "A man who'd steal from me just as soon kill me," he explained. The Ensure in a sock was his weapon to fend off the thief. He told Dad about the men who had come to give him all his things back. "They put it all back, just like it was," he said. Didn't take him long. Later that night, he told Dad about how much it had scared Florence. He hated that she'd had to go through that. Florence was my grandmother, the one who died when I was 6. He finished by saying that Florence had gone somewhere, and when he went looking for her, they told me she was dead. "One day, they're gonna come looking for me, and they're gonna find me dead." That was a jolt to my father. Grandpa had never, at any point before that, acknowledged his mortality, his advanced age, or the fact that he had probably no more than a handful of years left at best. Aging and death was something that happened to other people. But here he was, accepting that death was near. That wasn't the last night he mentioned the thief.